Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pizza Cultura. Super excited to see everyone today. We are going to be talking about media, the industry focusing on pizza, whether it's in print, whether it's digital, whether it's on your TV, your radio, all of the above, your computer. We are going to talk about it and really give you a perspective from globally, from where each of us are located and what we see as up and coming or dying out for media. So I'm going to go straight to Italy because I'm really excited to hear more about what is happening in media and pizza. Pepe, over to you.
Hey Stephanie, hi Tom and Peter. So there's a lot to tell you. So I will start with the most important magazine that is about pizza in Italy because I have a fetish for printed magazine. So I would love to start with that. Definitely the most important media here in
Anything
that.
fetishistic.
The most important magazine here is the Pizza and Pasta Italiana, which is, I will say, the only professional, actually industry magazine that we have on pizza, and it's been going on by 30 years. And is mostly famous because they are the organizer of the Parma World Championship. So they are the one that initiated all. Not the only media that we have in our country, though. But I would
And they
say
also focus on digital too, because I know from the States perspective, you can't get that magazine outside of Italy. I don't know. Tom, can you get it in the UK?
No,
That printed
I'm
edition?
I'm pretty sure you could get it on an online subscription, but I don't think it's not something that's readily available everywhere.
no, but you can definitely read also their English article on the website. And also, as far as I know, they were about to announce the new English version, which is called Slices. I don't know if they were announcing it at the next Pizza Expo in March or this one that just happened in. We did have recently another Pizza Expo in Las Vegas, but I knew that they were about to launch an international English version. But I'm talking about a professional magazine. When we're talking about general media, we have a plethora of things. We have
Right, for the
blogs
pizza community.
for the pizza community, yes. But even like just for passionate food readers, we have a lot of blogs. We have professional websites, especially the general food media industry. When we're talking, whether we're talking about websites or printed magazines, they have a big focus on pizza. It's become the number one topic since the last decade. They dedicate guides and listening to them. Also, you do know that Italy is the motherland of the Uber ranking of 50 top pizza. That's part of the media industry as well, and they have their own website as well where they talk about all the people that are part of the network. Pretty interesting and active. And I will conclude just to say also what's the status of pizza on TV. It's pretty interesting. We do have a couple of shows that go on national TV. I wouldn't say they're a primetime show, but there is an interesting show that I already had the chance to mention in the past, which is called Pizza Girls, which is all about a telling of the female professional in the industry. And they had a successful run of 3 seasons between 2020 and 2021, just in the middle of pandemic, and it was on a satellite channel of one of our national TVs. But soon there will be the fourth season, and they are about to conquer the prime time of the national channel. So it's going to be interesting. So stay tuned about that.
And Tom, over to you about the UK. I know Papa Awards just happened. There's they also do a pizza and pasta. They combine pizza with pasta and other Italian cuisines. Um, are there any shows that are like Italian driven or in the
Like
UK that
pizza
you
content
see?
driven. I mean,
Yeah.
look, the only the only thing that springs to mind when you mention kind of digital content in pizza focused digital content in the UK, is the Bite Twice guys. You know, they are our kind of cottage industry pizza showcase crew, and you know, shout out to them, to Jerry and Paolo. Very charismatic guys. They do a great job. You know, they've, you know, I think a big round of applause goes out to them for just putting a lot of the quality UK spots on the map. Hopefully we're going to get them on sometime to have a chat. But you know, they are who I would look to showcase or get a bit of a steer on an up and coming pizza place. You know, I can't think of any Netflix shows, any other kind of, you know, fly in the wall kind of YouTube shows that cover it. It's those are the guys that I see regularly. That doesn't mean that there isn't something happening. It just means that I haven't seen it and I haven't got a clue.
And I
Well,
know,
you know, like, oh, so go ahead, mate.
I know there's also the French pizzeria, French magazine.
French people
too.
have pizza places? No, I'm joking.
They do. There's
I'm joking.
there's a print magazine that is published a couple times a year in France, that also covers pizza, and they have their own show that they promote in Paris, or I think sometimes it goes to Marseille as well. Exactly. Yeah. So I know, and that's in French.
It's kind of the equivalent of like PMQ, or.
Yeah, I mean it's highlighting French pizzerias. There's articles. It's driven by ingredients and manufacturers, definitely.
Oh, cool.
But it's So I know about that one as far as another publication in Europe that's pretty common, that you can find for French language. I haven't found anything in other languages though, just French.
It is. It comes out every couple of
Stephanie,
months.
were you asking?
So, sorry.
Stephanie, were you asking me about print or about digital?
Everything.
I mean, you know, in the UK, there are foodie magazines, and I'm assuming, you know, they will have occasional kind of spreads on pizza places. You know, like Time Out does a list, and
but specific to pizza, like just like these are like inspired and driven by pizza exclusively.
Yeah, not that I know of, and I think that's just because, with the exception of Neapolitan, you know, the UK pizza scene is in its kind of larval stage, so I don't think there is one yet.
And Peter, you have you know, you've got Steve out there doing a lot about Chicago pizza, but from a historian side, I would love to know if there's anything that you see in the pizza magazines, or pizza, you know, media that you've enjoyed and has been helpful on your end.
Well, I was just trying to think of like what would be the best of the last decade of the various formats. And for me, if I exclude all the stuff that I've done, and being non-biased about, I think the best article that I read in a pizza magazine historically, or for my purposes, any magazine that's pizza related, was one done in 2021 in PMQ magazine on the inventor of the gas oven by the name of Frank Mastro. Mm-hmm. And that was a long project by two people who really helped the journalists who did it, but it was an unusually good article that really stood out, with really good photographs, first-person accounts of the daughter of Frank. And so it was, I would say, by far the best in the last decade that I've read. And it's a shame we can't see more content even approaching that.
Yeah, I know exactly which article you're talking about, and it was really well written, and a lot of research was done to pull it all together. There were some great photos in the article, I remember too. I know that I know Scott Wiener's been on a couple shows that are focused a little bit on pizza, a lot on his pizza boxes from, I'm trying to remember, there was a History Channel one that came out. So curious if there's any other like TV that you've watched that has been alluring for the pizza side.
Well, if you go back far enough, the History channel, as you mentioned, I think there was one done in the mid 2000s, and there's an actually earlier one done in the late 90s. And for me personally, that's a kind of an example of them just sort of introducing the topic to the public as to a legitimate field that would be um, interesting to disclose what the myths were at that time. And so they got a lot of people in front of a camera attesting to what was true, which didn't turn out to be true at all. But at least they got the subject out there, and at least they got the public somewhat motivated to be involved in it. So, um, yeah. So
And do you
that
remember what the
actually,
topics were?
oh, it was a four-part series on the history of pizza. So it starts in
Hmm.
Italy, gave the famous Queen Margherita story, how it came to the United States, the famous Lombardi story, deep dish pizza story. So it's basically all wrong, but it still
Where
was
can we find this?
uh,
It's on the History Channel. You can
Oh,
still
okay.
find it like on whatever.
You-
YouTube.
I think you can find it on Hulu or
Oh,
one
very
of
cool.
those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it essentially mirrored what the books were putting out at that
Hmm.
time too. So the big flaw in it
So
obviously
you've
was,
subsequently debunked it all, Peter, is what you're saying?
well, I
There's a
didn't
lot of
say
wrong.
that. Yeah, there was just a lot of wrong, and mainly because they didn't go to primary sources, and this is an old sort of um, Achilles heel in the whole thing, that they sometimes don't have the time to do that, or they don't have the budget, or they don't think the payoff is there, and they might not be wrong. Unfortunately, they might be right. So, I mean, I found personally that the public responds to a good story as opposed to a really good source story. So,
Kind of goes back to what you were talking about last week a little bit, Peter.
right.
Yeah.
And so, and Peter too, any, they might not be pizza related, but are there any food historians? Like, I know the culinary historians of Chicago, for example, they've had you on as a guest. They do kind of a newsletter. Are there any other, places where you look to for pizza? What other researchers are doing in the food world?
Well, yeah, we have a circle of friends who keep in touch by text and by projects that they've done on that get disclosed periodically on Instagram. So the names that you guys are all familiar with: Scott Wiener, Colin Kaplan, Zach Nowak from Harvard, and now he's moved on from there. But um, yeah, sort of the usual suspects that put their stuff either for me. I'm a little bit of an old fogey, so I put my stuff out on Facebook because I don't like Instagram as much. But we just dribble out our content, and yeah, I mean, I think that's honestly the best stuff in a timely basis that someone could monitor if they're interested in the history, because the normal publications, they're not on top of it as much. There are a few out there, though.
Yeah, I don't really find anything on history in the US based publications like PMQ. I know PMQ, the article that was Mastro was a few years ago, as you mentioned. There hasn't really been a follow up or other history specific topics in the books. Usually, or even in the magazines, are usually devoted to what's new in the pizzerias and recipes.
Right. Well, when I've wanted to get a topic out, they've approached me. So I've done mine in the Chicago Reader, which is an alternative weekly or monthly, I'm not sure. And the other one was Edible Magazine. So, but yeah, it's all online eventually. So that's why, I still say the sort of the dyed in the wool brick and mortar, I guess, or hard paper publications. Um, they're not the best to go to anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, they find themselves outdated, and then they have to update the digital edition anyways, content
Right.
wise, because you'll see, especially from the food side, you'll see like Atlas Obscura, they'll publish some things on history or on food, and then they'll republish it a couple years later with the addendum or updated content. So yeah, I
And
mean, go ahead, Peter.
then I can ask you: have there been any books in the last decade that have come out on this particular topic?
So, well, obviously, I spent a lot of time on one of them, Modernist Pizza, working on looking at a lot of sources. Some of the sources that Peppe mentioned, and then obviously the French source that I cited, and then the American publications, PMQ and Pizza Today. Um, so, from a book standpoint, there hasn't been a lot of historical or academic work on pizza that has been published thus far. Peter, well, no, lately. I was going to
Lately,
mention the previous one. So they're
right?
all citations that we mentioned when we worked on pizza history.
Hmm.
So obviously Zach Novak, who you mentioned, who did the translation of the Mattosi's book in Italian on Una Pizza Napolitana, a very important book. And there was also a book done around the science, which has a tidbit of history from Enzo Cocha, which is probably also on your bookshelf back there, Peter. Yes, thank you. The Neapolitan Pizza, also now in English. And
Oh,
then you have some earlier works by what Tony Giminani does mention a little bit about pizza history in his Pizza Bible. Um,
If I'd
it,
known this was going to be show and tell, I would have had
I
my books
know
to
I
hand.
don't have any
Yeah.
of my books with me either. And then you have oh,
Pepe does, I think.
I can't
Yeah,
believe I'm
Pepe's rummaging.
blanking on the name of the woman. Peter, help me on the woman that also
Evelyn
wrote
Sloman.
Evelyn Sloman. Yeah, I love that book, the pizza book. That was also very early on. Then you also have Carol, who wrote Pizza,
Right?
a history,
I can't find it.
which is a little yellow thin book, which I think Peter also
Collins.
has. Then we have Collins' book, which we've talked about. Collins written exclusively about Connecticut. And then we have Scott's Pizza Box book too. So I know the kits keep coming. You have and that's Pizza City. That's Steve Dolinsky's book. And so most of those books that are on Peter's shelf right now have come out in the last 10 years. Evelyn Sloman's book, though, came out in the 90s. Is that correct?
That came out in the 80s. I think
80s, yeah.
1984,
85? Yeah, okay.
83.
Planet Pizza.
That's an oldie, or
So,
that's a obscure one.
an obscure one, only in Peter's library. So,
Peter,
yeah.
what percentage of your bookshelves are pizza-related content?
There's a lot of books, unfortunately.
Okay.
So only about 5%, if that,
Okay.
maybe 1%. No, not that much of a.
I'll have to take a snapshot of my shelf too of all the pizza history books because we have tons of guides that we picked up in Italy too that were really fun that had pizzerias. Goldberg's pizza book. Those are some old school ones. Tom, anything on the Pizza Inn for you as far as media? Like, what's your go-to right now? What do you like to read or look at or listen to?
To listen to, I mean, it's basically just doom scrolling through Instagram for the most part. In terms of kind of slightly more cerebral content, it's kind of written form, like it's blogs, it's reviews, many of which invariably just irritate me. But there are some kind of quality content providers out there.
What are the non-irritating ones?
I mean, he doesn't do it anymore, but shout out to, well, he kind of does it. Shout out to Arthur Bavino. I've always liked his stuff. And then it's kind of the vicarious thrill thing, just random reviews of, far-flung outposts in the US that I would kind of love to get to one day, but haven't made it there. So it's that kind of content. Like
Did you read much about? Did you read Serious Eats when it came out? When it was, I mean,
yeah,
you mentioned Arthur, so
yeah.
Adam Kuban
Adam
as well.
Cuban, yes, with his was Sliced his original blog thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Adam Cuban and Arthur. Shout out to both those guys. And that's kind of it. Like, it's just kind of, you develop a pretty good sniff test for when someone knows what they're talking about. There are kind of buzzwords that they'll throw in. So it's like a random Google search for something. Like, if I want to know about St. Louis style pizza, I'll find someone and okay, this is interesting, and start reading and just take it from there.
Peppe, what about like on the Italian side? Anyone that was kind of a forefront in either print or digital media, that you refer back to, kind of like the Serious Eats team?
Well, I have to say that in Italy, the most, well, maybe not the most, but one of the most authoritative voices is the Gambero Rosso, which we already mentioned in the past. I personally don't like them, at least in this period. Like, I don't like the direction that they have in terms of content, and especially in terms of headlines that not only are pretty clickbaity, but most of the time are quite controversial, in my opinion. But we do have a lot of food magazines, whether printed or digital. So yeah, we're spoiled for choices here, even when it's about pizza books. I'm sorry, because while Peter was talking, I was trying to find one of the latest pizza books that is being published in Italy, which is called Storia della Pizza, History of Pizza. It was published by Luca Cesari. I quite liked it. It was a bit unfortunate that I saw that they took a picture from my website and printed it on a book without asking me for permission. So I had to contact the publishing house just to ask them why.
And that's super recent, hey, Pepe?
Sorry?
Pepe, do you know when that one came out?
Yes.
Like 2023.
Yeah. It came out like it was like a few months ago. I don't remember. I did buy it while I was, anyway, it was June, if I remember well. It came out on June.
This year.
Recent.
Yeah.
Yes, this year. I'm just going to show you about another couple of books that I think that Peter would find really interesting. This one is being written by Neapolitan journalist.
Sure, show and tell.
Yeah, it's called A Pizza. This is a history book that is based on all the Neapolitan songs that from the 1700 onwards mention the pizza in any way. And this is great. This is a great book. It's actually
cool.
A very deep research. I really recommend this one, which is not about pizza.
So all pizza songs and poems too?
Not mainly
I have
songs.
that one.
Yeah.
Is that slow food?
No, this is not slow food. This is from an American writer.
I'm assuming that Gigi D'Alessio song's in there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can read, if you can see the one that I'm holding.
That's my favorite pizza-related song.
Yeah, Pasta Penne Vino.
Yes, that's from Matt Golding. It's not about pizza. It's about Italian culinary culture, but because it's told about journeys through the regions of Italy, there is one chapter dedicated to Campania, and there's a lot about pizza. This is a personal experience, so pizza from his point of view, but this is one of the best thing related to the pizza that I've ever seen written. And by the way, Matt Golding is also a James Beard Award winner for an article about pizzerias in Japan, which, by the way, I always say it's pretty disappointing that it's all the American taking these articles, because we've been talking about pizzerias in Japan, in Italy by a while, but of course he talks to a wider audience. So that's why he could have published the article. He could have proposed that article to the James Beard committee. But I love that. I love that article, and this book is amazing. In total, I mean, the whole book is amazing.
Yeah, there's some interesting people writing. Yeah, there's definitely some interesting people writing about Japan pizza. You know, the first thing that comes out in my mind is with a Netflix special that had pizza in Japan. And I think that really inspired a lot of people to want to go to Japan with David Chang to see what's there. I can't think of any books that have really tackled pizza in Japan. Same with South America, which, you know, we've talked about it a bit in Modernist Pizza, but I really didn't find a lot of historical information. Some articles, but nothing really from a multi perspectives. Usually it was tackling just one specific pizzeria or one person's journey.
That would be a fun topic to read up on. I mean, if you guys come across any books dealing with, you know, we kind of know how, you know, we know the backstory of how Tokyo style Neapolitan came about, you know, the kind of the stages they came to do in Naples and stuff like that. But it would be a cool topic to read a full-on book about.
Yeah, I thought we would find more books when we were researching on South America, because there was such a huge immigration and some really interesting stories. But Castello's, which was kind of the earlier pizzeria that's still around that everyone
Where's that?
That one is that
São Paulo.
Sao Paulo?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so people dedicate pizzas in their pizzas to Castello's, but there's really not any written information except for some small articles, but no books on the history that I'm aware of.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think in terms of media, the awareness
I know
about
Papa
pizza
Fan has
in
been,
South America is rising now.
Yeah, and Tom, you mentioned Papa Fern. I know he's
doing his best
to
kind of to edify the masses on, you know, the roots and the variances in Argentine pizza. So, you know, he's always a good source if anyone's interested in that, because it's, you know, it's a niche little product scene, but it's an interesting product, and he's doing a really good job showcasing that. So shout out to Fernando.
Yes, and his father had a pizzeria in South America. I can't remember if it was in Sao Paulo or not.
No, Buenos Aires, I think.
Buenos Aires, yeah, that's right. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to publish or have any more articles. They've mostly been about just his recipes, but it would be great to have some more historical documentation, definitely on the differences in South America with pizza.
100%.
So, Peter, anything else to add? Any other books you want to show us before we close out and I pass the baton over to Tom to talk about next week?
I've got more books to show, but I think I'm pushing my luck at this point. I think I don't know how much interest
they're on the shelf.
We can do just a Peter's bookshelf tour show, and he shows everyone.
Yeah, we can all bring. I'll bring my bookshelf to life too, and we can do a battle of the
Kelly's
books.
one.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah,
okay.
That one's one I definitely don't.
Pasta and pizza.
Yeah, it's another good one. So, Tom, you want to talk about what we're going to be chatting about next week?
Yeah. Or I can just kind of meander through
Peter.
Peter's bookshelf. Yeah. So next week the title is Gordon Ramsay Pizza, You Effing Donkey. It's basically just a chit chat about the kind of recent trend of high-end restaurateurs flipping into the pizza game. It kind of started during the pandemic, and it skyrocketed from there. And Gordon Ramsay's is possibly one of the worst examples of it. Don't want to kind of, spoiler it, but anyway, so we'll be chatting about that. So that's next week's show. I don't know if we're all there for that. I think we might be. Or Peppe, are you away? I'm not sure. Peppe might be away. Anyway, guys, that's about all we've got time for today. If you enjoyed the show, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. It really helps us out. And the podcast is also available wherever you get your podcasts. And you can find us on TikTok and Instagram under the handle I Need Pizza Club, all one word. Cool. All right. Thanks, Stephanie. Thanks, guys. Have a
Ciao.
good start to the weekend. See you later.
Happy Friday.